All right, everyone, welcome back to Author Mastery. I am humbled, I am excited, and I'm certainly appreciative to be with Dr. Dennis Perman. Welcome, Dr. Dennis. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Thank you very much.
Look, this is going to be an incredible conversation. I have literally been chomping at the bit for this and waiting in anticipation, because the book we're going to talk about, the work and body of work that we're going to describe, I think is going to be so impactful for you. And I can't wait to do this. But before we do, for those not familiar with the incredible human being and amazing chiropractor before us, Dr. Dennis is the co-founder and executive vice president of the Masters Circle Global. He started his career as a Renaissance chiropractor, starting with Dr. Guy Reichman and Joe Fisher, to promote natural healing and freedom from subluxation. After a seminar with Anthony Robbins, he realized the value of personal growth and the potency of neuro-linguistic programming, and became one of Tony's first master trainers, which gave rise to original concepts such as capacity technology, which is trademarked, and the identity-based consulting process that you used. And these discoveries led to a sea of change, not only in your life, but the lives of so many chiropractors that worked with you, that began an adventure to uncover the capacity they have and to serve chiropractic and humanity. He then went on to work with Larry Markson, becoming his foremost instructor in the chiropractic practice management, rising to a level of partner, which led to the groundwork which became the Masters Circle Global. And this has been an incredible journey, I know, but beyond that, amongst all the things he has done, he's an award-winning author. He's written 7 books, among them New Patients Every Day, which, by the way, is just a great blueprint for being able to grow your practice in a sustainable, powerful way. And is what we're going to talk about today, the Advanced Citizen. And you can say, I didn't read this, I studied this, I immersed myself in this. Great products, which I even have, all the great work that you've done with the Master Circle. And this one I'm pretty excited about because it's got your signature here as well. This was a signed copy. So you have contributed so much through hundreds of hours of audio, video. You've published articles, newsletters, blogs. I think you have been an incredible thought leader for our profession. So to have this conversation, I'm grateful, I'm excited. It's going to be powerful and profound. Are we ready, Dr. Dennis?
Wow, where do I go from there? You make me sound so special. I really do appreciate it. But Dr. Marcus, the way I want to open is just by saying that literally everybody listening, everybody watching has the very same opportunity and the very same personal power and potential that I and you have. It's just what you decide to do with it. So my experience is that when I apply myself, in other words, when I raise my standards, when I develop winning beliefs and choose effective strategies, then I've got the best chance of being able to succeed. Now, many fans of Anthony Robbins will recognize that as one of his key formulas. And I have had some original thoughts, I suppose, but most of the stuff we're going to be talking about here is they're ideas that I borrowed from great thought leaders in our profession. So I can't wait to get started sharing some of these ideas. Where would you like to begin?
All right, well, where I want to begin is we're going to be talking about the Advanced Citizen. I want to talk first about that idea. Now, this book, and firstly, I'm going to repeat this a couple of times because I want to highlight this. You need to go buy this book. Okay, below this video is the link. Go grab a copy of that. And the first thing, and you'll see that I didn't just, I'm going to see if you can see that. I've got there. I wrote all through this. And one of the things I noticed was, firstly, not only was this, the origin of this was a series of articles that you did, the Winner's Circle newsletter, which was there present within the Master Circle Global. I recognize and acknowledge that. And so this became, and you wrote an article, you missed 2 months over 11 years. And that means you wrote an article a month, virtually uninterrupted for 11 years with incredible thoughts. And before I talk about what I want to really uncover here is you gave this beautiful beginning point of the forward of the book. What are the virtues and values of a life well lived? What are the organizing principles of a servant entrepreneur, an advanced citizen, and there's those words, who does as much good as possible and develops an optimally satisfying career and life? So these articles, this book is a representation of the thoughts. And again, what I started doing as I wrote this, and this is what I wanted to share with you, is I noticed, and I broke it into, there are certain attributes or characteristics that a thought leader has, such as leadership, excellence, standards, freedom, and you spoke of all these. Then I noticed there are certain actions that they take, one of the standards that they set, they take risks, they engage with people, they measure through performance standards. And I said, they also have a philosophy or a business approach. And, they have a prosperity consciousness, a gratitude, a family balance, a desire to do good. So I started to break all of these down and realized you had an incredible blueprint here for what an advanced citizen was, what a contributor for a human being or a chiropractor to a greater world could be. So I guess I want to start, as I read through this, it took me a long, long time. I read this I started reading this as I read most books, to read it, to gain, to grow, to learn. But I couldn't read it in a week or 2 weeks or a month like many other books, because there were so many distinctions in every article, in every chapter. I had to take the thoughts from it, implement and apply and grow individually, work within my team so we could grow collectively. It became a book that took me over a year to get through, which is why it took me so long to reach out to you and say, can I have this conversation? So my first thought, knowing how impactful it is to me, that I would like, and I believe everyone listening would like to know, is how did you bring the idea of the advanced citizen to the forefront to firstly be able to write? I'd love your idea on the advanced citizen.
Well, that's one of my favorite questions, because I was fortunate early in my chiropractic career to be exposed to tremendous leaders, tremendous thought leaders, not the least of which, as you mentioned before, were Guy Riekman and Joe Flesia, may rest in peace. What Guy talked about was people coming in for the right reason. And it was the first time I ever heard that terminology. What I realized in a talk that Guy did for my group in 2007, he talked about leadership and advanced citizenry. And I'd never heard that expression before. Advanced citizenry, what does that mean? And as I thought about it, I realized that each of us has a responsibility to ourselves to develop ourselves, but most people focus on the foundational stuff. Finding somebody to walk hand in hand with for the rest of your life, finding gainful employment that you enjoy, choosing a sense of purpose around the relationships that you secure, perhaps raising a family, perhaps developing meaningful hobbies. This is what I call the first puzzle. The first puzzle is these puzzle pieces, a spouse and work and enough money and good health. That's enough of a challenge for most people. In fact, I don't think I'm overstating it to say that many people never even reach the resolution of that first puzzle. But some people aspire to something more, Dr. Marcus. Some people want to make more of a difference, want to make their life count for something more. And that's what I refer to as the second puzzle. The second puzzle is, how do I take everything that I've learned in getting my own life together and begin to apply those principles so that I can serve other people? And that's really where the notion of advanced citizenry was hatched. Guy in this talk was talking about how certain people step to the forefront and act as leaders in whatever way they do, and that others are able to benefit because of that. So Tony Robbins taught me many years ago that there are really 4 levels of leadership. The first is just to be able to lead yourself, and that's first puzzle stuff. As I said, sadly, many people never get there. The second level of leadership is to be able to lead someone else, as a chiropractor might do with an assistant or with a patient. The third level is to be able to lead a group. But the fourth level of leadership, to me, is the most powerful because it's leading without being physically present. The reason why I put the advanced citizen together is because there are so many people I will never get to meet. I'll never get to share my ideas with. I'll never get to lead. And I felt like if I could encapsulate those ideas in one place, then people could benefit from it. Now, you made reference to it taking a year for you to write, to read. Well, it took me 11 years to write. But that's because, as you pointed out before, each of the essays that makes up the Advanced Citizen, there are 130 essays in here, and each of them was written a month apart as a gift to my group of high achievers in my practice management and coaching group. You see, many people read my column over the years. I wrote it for 24 years, Message of the Week. I just retired from that just a few short months ago. Had enough, and I had written almost 500,000 words. I figured that that was probably sufficient. But the idea of writing for the winner circle, this smaller, more elite group within the Master Circle Global, I had to make sure that I wasn't wasting their time. These are people with tremendous practices, with tremendous lives, and I had to make sure that everything I did was up to the standard that I would want if I were reading something that they sent to me. I realized that the most important thing I could do to serve these people was to examine the different slices of life that they go through. How do you make plans for yourself? What do you believe? What are the values that are most important to you? What are the characteristics and personality traits that you find most beneficial? And as I began to explore these one by one, each essay took on a life of its own. So 1 month, maybe I was writing about self-esteem. 1 month, maybe I was writing about self-discipline. 1 month, maybe I was writing about creativity or focus or love, willingness, making a difference. I mean, just every month I took the responsibility to say, if I were the reader, what would I want to hear about? And that's really where this compendium of knowledge came from. I don't know that there's anything that's all that original in here, because most of it is just references that I've made, observations I've made about life, about being a chiropractor, the most unique and wonderful profession in the world. And my intention with the Advanced Citizen was to help more chiropractors move toward developing that second puzzle. That once you've created the life that you want for yourself, then to give back to the profession by being an advanced citizen, by being somebody who helps other citizens to advance.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it is a tremendous gift. And I think the the path that stands out for me is that it is that accumulation of great wisdom and great thought, and you've put it together in one tome. And part of the reason I think it took me so long to read was because, again, when you look at my page there, you'll see I highlight things.
Very flattering, Dr. Marcus, very flattering indeed.
And it constantly, and that's why you can't read it like you might, most of the articles that's about the size of it, maybe 600-700 words, but really consolidated. So, for example, when you say you start this, what price freedom? I read this and this was, again, we've been during a tough couple of years, and here, even at this point, serve at the highest level were words that I highlighted. And how do we continually and consistently reinvent ourselves? And in that time, we had to think, well, what are we doing? We can say it's a pretty hard couple of years. Let's close our doors, or our practice can diminish, and we can endure the stress, but not necessarily thrive in the chaos and disorganization that's there. Or we can elevate ourselves, and so many beautiful words, and that's why it became something. When reading this, be flexible, light enough on your feet to shift when necessary, and without enough latitude to build into your schedule so you don't have to run from choice or chore without a chance to breathe and enjoy your progress. And finally, be discerning, decisive, and discriminating enough to notice where your time and energy is being invested. And I remember reading that, practices are closing down in Melbourne. Friends from over in the States are saying, hey, we're not even allowed to open our doors. And we're grateful here in our practice that we're an essential service. But I'm reading these and reflecting at that point in time, saying, how can I be discerning? What choices do I make? How do I look at this situation as a blessing instead of a torture or a torment? And it's reading words like this that elevate the thinker to elevate the experience to create a different outcome. And so the question I have as I look through this material and I remember my thinking was, and you said you took all these thoughts and it's not original, well, there's certainly original slants on it, but there's wisdom slants that come from your own life and experience. But what do you think, or what do you think the secret is, or put differently, what do you think is inherent within you that allowed you to grasp deeper thoughts, to surface them so others can use them as a catalyst for their own growth?
Wow, that's quite a question. Well, even though the concepts in this book are not original, the discussion of them is. And what I realized was that, without sounding so full of myself, that if I have an opportunity to share something that I've learned with someone that they can benefit from it as well, then I think it's my responsibility to do so. But there's so many words out there, Marcus. I mean, there's thousands of books that you could be reading, millions of videos that you could be watching. How do you make it something that's special and unique? Well, I try to infuse everything I do with a great love for the end user. I feel strongly that everybody who writes has an ethical responsibility to care about the people they're writing for. It's not just about launching ideas into a black hole and hoping for the best. I had specific outcomes around each of these. Now, when you put a month in between writing a page or two, then you have plenty of time to consider what the impact is going to be and why you've chosen that particular topic. For me, the driving force has always been love. It's been love of chiropractic, love of being human, love of opportunity, of the creative process, love of success, love of failure. We can often learn a lot more from adversity than we can from prosperity. So those of us who learn to embrace those opportunities, we typically fare better, because it's unreasonable to expect it to go your way all the time, especially when the lessons are built into those challenges and you can move forward even more briskly when you embrace that effectively. So is it something special about me? I don't know. I work very hard. I mean, I put in a lot. I'm 68 years old and I'm not slowing down. I still work 60, 70 hours a week. I love writing and I love sharing. I love coaching. In fact, you mentioned that this has been a rocky couple of years, and obviously the Advanced Citizen predates COVID, even though you'll find that there's many principles in here that could easily be applied. But I was tasked to do an analysis of how my coaching members did, how our company did. Bob and I coached many chiropractors, and throughout 21 compared to 20, 86% of our members grew through the toughest climate possible. That's how I validate that the principles that I'm teaching here are effective, because I get to see it in real time. If I make a suggestion, then 100 chiropractors are going to go do it like that, and I get feedback immediately. So first of all, it makes you humble because you can have that much impact, but also it's exhilarating, because when I hit on something that's extraordinary, then I can promote it. I can help so many doctors and by remote control so many patients. For me, even after all this time, the most important thing is to serve as many people with chiropractic as possible. And I graduated chiropractic college, New York Chiropractic College, in 1977. So I've been a chiropractor for 45 years, and I still love it every day. I feel blessed that I get to talk about this amazing philosophy and that I get to see the miracles. Now, I don't practice anymore. You're my practice. My coaching members are my practice. But by remote control, they go out and help hundreds or thousands of families, and I still get to feel like I'm having impact on those people. It's really what gets me up in the morning.
Yeah, and that impact is there because, again, when you read this and you increase your service, when you listen and grow your mind as you practice, and when you attract new patients into your clinic and serve at a higher level, that capacity to influence is an extension of the growth that happens in me because of the wisdom that you've brought into that process. And I appreciate you and your service to humanity through chiropractic. It's just profound in that regard. And which is why, as I closed off on this book, and before we get to really the last question, there is I looked at this on the last page, and I circled a point here where it said a reservoir of distinctions to draw upon, and I really felt like that is exactly what this is. There are all these distinctions that we can use individually in our own lives that we can act upon, but we need to know those distinctions first. We need to bring that thought into our life, and then into our heart, and then into our mind, and then into our actions. And as my second last question really then is, if you were to say to a chiropractor, say, watch this, and then they grab the book and they read the Advanced Citizen, and they then join coaching with you, or they reach out in some way, shape or form, or listen to some of the Master Circle, what distinction do you feel is the most significant for them to begin with so that they can become more influential, develop their thought leadership? How do they begin?
Yes. There are two dynamics to growth. One is called capacity, and it's the amount of your potential you currently have access to. You can grow that. We have unlimited potential, but only a certain capacity based on how much we have access to. And the other dynamic of growth is attraction. It's when you learn how to combine capacity and attraction, then you build capacity and then you fill it with attraction, and you build capacity and then you fill that with attraction, and you build more capacity and fill that with attraction. It's an ever increasing upward spiral of success, love, health, and growth. But if there was one principle that I had to pick as the thing that governs most of my thinking, it would be success comes from you, not to you. Because it's an inside out game. It's an inner game. And you compliment me. I really appreciate it. You're so kind. And you say so many wonderful, flattering things to me. And believe me, I appreciate that. In my mind, there's nobody watching or listening who couldn't do exactly what I did and probably do it better. So I really do feel like everybody has raw potential, but they have to seek how to access that potential through the rules of capacity. And everybody has access to infinite attraction, but we have to learn how to activate that attraction through visualization and affirmation, goal setting, building resources, etc. So the reason why I achieve at a high level is because I hold myself to that standard, but it's not anything that anybody couldn't do if they were dedicated enough, if they cared enough, if they were loving enough, and if they sought out great teachers like I always have. And this is not rocket science, but what is created as a result of it is something extraordinary because it makes a lot of people's lives better. And by the way, it can also generate tremendous return for yourself. I live very, very well, and I have no feelings of guilt. I feel like I earned it. Now, I'm not a gaudy person. I don't have fancy cars or fancy clothes. I have a nice house, but I don't feel it's necessary for me to prove anything to anybody. I just want to do as much good as I possibly can. And when I do that good, then good things happen in response. So that's what I recommend.
I love that. It's beautiful. And to finish up, I think, one of the things I really like is that, one, you've written a book, I've written a book. There's so many chiropractors that have written books, but yet there are so many chiropractors who have a message to share. And our communities need a greater influence in the messages that are out there in the community. That took you 11 years to write because you wrote an article a month. What would you say to a chiropractor who might say, well, I couldn't write a book, or, I'm dyslexic. I don't have the articulations of Dr. Marcus or Dr. Dennis, but I've got a message to share. How can they cultivate that ability to write and share the message? And what would your advice be for any chiropractor wanting to expand their influence and impact?
I get asked this all the time. And there's many different things that you can do. First, what you see as my books and my articles, I mean, first of all, it's the product of 40 years of doing so. So it's not like I just woke up one morning and wrote a perfect book. Second, all of these, the writing is only the beginning. The rewriting is what makes it exceptional. One of my dear friends and mentors, Michael Gelb, a brilliant man, said, write drunk, but rewrite sober, So you want to get your ideas out and just spill them out there. If it slows you down writing, use a recording device. Take your iPhone, push the button and talk into it for a while. If you don't feel like transcribing it, get somebody to transcribe it. For about $1 a minute on the internet, you can get somebody to transcribe your recordings for you. The main thing is don't make excuses. If you want to write, start writing, and don't expect it to be a perfect finished product right off the bat. You'll massage it, you'll work on it. Like I said, I between my 8 books and thousands of columns and articles, I've got over 1 million words in print. That didn't just drop out of the sky. I had to earn that. And whoever wants to become a great writer can. Seek out people who you think are excellent mentors and study, whether you do it personally or whether you read their books. Things as diverse as reading Shakespeare, reading Anthony Robbins, reading romance novels. I mean, it's all helpful. It all helps you to formulate, because if you want to write with love, then you have to remember who you're writing for. Because loving the people you're writing for will turn on your creativity, and you'll be amazed how much you can accomplish.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that is so true. click on the link below, grab a copy of this book. Like me, it is going to change your life. I am a different chiropractor. I'm a different leader within my practice and community, and a stronger servant of the principle because of this book, because of you, Dr. Dennis. I'm grateful, appreciate that. Everyone, you have an incredible thought leader here. You know where his resources are. You know how to reach out. Let's go make the world a better place together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And any of your viewers that I can help in any way, please have them get in touch with me. It'll be my delight to serve them any way I possibly could.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why the links are there. Thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Thank you.